What's up, Average Dad fans? Welcome back to another video. So, it's been a week of using the Nubia Z60 Ultra as my daily driver. Is it a flagship killer? Or is it just another good phone with a few too many drawbacks? Let's go. So first things first, I do want to touch on the potential drawbacks that you or someone you know might suffer from when buying this phone. The first one has to be the omission of wireless charging. Now don't get me wrong, the 80-watt wired charger included in the box is an absolute bonus, and it's going to get your phone all the way from dead to 100% in less than 40 minutes. But when you've got a 245 gram phone, you kind of expect wireless charging to be included in there. But no, all that weight and no wireless charging. The other one is the selfie camera. If you're a fan of taking selfies regularly, the Nubia is trying its best with the under-display selfie camera, but it's not great. They say it's 1080p. 1080p covered by glass and display isn't the same as 1080p covered by just a lens. So I like what Nubia are trying to do and achieve, and this is by far the best iteration of that under display camera, but it's still not there if you're a selfie taker. Now luckily for you Nubia fans and for me, that's where the drawbacks of this phone end. And for me personally, I don't take many selfies, and I certainly don't miss wireless charging. So let's talk about all the reasons why I actually believe this is a flagship killer. Spoiler, but I am going to be recommending this to anyone in the market for a new device. Let's talk about why. Now, for anyone that's watched any of my recent full reviews, I have a scoring system based on design, build quality, software, price, and cameras. So, where better to start than build quality? This is an IP68 water and dust resistant 6.8 inch 99% screen to body ratio aluminium glass beast. It has all the top flagship specs that you could want, from a squared off build to a solid feeling device in the hand. And while it is squared off, I have to say, it doesn't feel as edgy and sharp as previous iPhones. I will give up that the iPhone 15 Pro Max feels better in the hands this year. I would compare the Nubia just with an iPhone 15 Pro Max. So with the IP68 and the glass and the aluminium, and with everything feeling great, I do have to say build quality is fantastic. Now, it's not using titanium, and it's not Gorilla Glass Victus 2 or the new Gorilla Glass Victus Armor. So I think it would only be fair to not give this top marks. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 for build quality, only because better materials are available, but the materials used are fantastic. Now, I talked about this already, but design-wise, it's a big, thick, black hunk of phone. Feels quite weighty, which I like, some people won't. But as far as the overall design, the squared off edges, and for me, one of the best implementations of a camera bump yet. And the reason I say that is because the rear camera bump with the 3 lenses is square, a nice big rectangle that doesn't wobble on the desk. It does protrude a little, but to me not as obvious. It's a more subtle approach to a camera on the rear, actually looking more like a traditional DSLR or mirrorless camera, which sounds weird to say on a smartphone, but when you look at the iPhone, the Samsung, all the lenses on one side, I'm not the biggest fan. And as part of the design, I obviously have to mention one of the main attractions, one of the main reasons why I'm absolutely recommending this phone to everyone, and it is that display. While the drawback of not having a proper selfie camera is a deal breaker for some, the advantages it gives you when consuming content on that uninterrupted screen far outweighs the negatives, in my opinion. This display has been an absolute dream to use for gaming, for content, for perusing the internet, and taking advantage of the split screen functionality that we'll talk about in software. This is the best display to do it. So for overall design, I might get some heat in the comments. Feel free to leave a comment and tell me I'm wrong, but I'm giving this a 5. I absolutely love this design, and it's important to note that a part of the design build quality goes with the experience in the hand, and this is just one of the best phones to hold. I find myself actually just picking it up and looking at it, and I've not done that with the device, for a while. Now I'm going to come straight out the gate here and tell you that the software category is not going to be top marks. This is actually going to be the least scoring points round for the Z60 Ultra. And it's not because it's not decent software. Nowadays in 2024, I do think you'd struggle to find bad software. However, you wouldn't struggle to find fantastic software. Samsung's One UI, Oppo's ColorOS, Xiaomi's new HyperOS are all making leaps forward way faster than any other skins. And myOS 14 has kind of been left behind. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. There's obviously lots of customization you can do through themes. It's also a global ROM Android, so you can add any launcher you want. If you don't like the stock launcher, just add Nova or any other launcher that you choose to. But if you're keeping stock, there's a few bonus software features that other phones struggle to handle. One of them being the extra side key. Much like Oppo and Vivo, there's a slider. However, with their slider, it's customizable. This isn't just used for silent and vibrate mode. This can be used for entering game mode, entering street photography mode, turning on the flashlight. There's a few things in the software that you can choose to use the side key for, and I love it. I've got it set up for Game Zone, and as soon as I flick it, I'm right into the last game I played, which is typically Asphalt 9, and we'll talk about gaming soon as well. But that feature, to me, is a really good integration and a choice. On the Vivos and Oppos of the world, the alert slider is used for volume and volume only. The fact that you can choose what you want to use it for, I really appreciate that. Now, I also mentioned split screen. Split screen on a candy bar style phone can sometimes be rough. Granted, the S23 Ultra lineup and new S24 are probably the best at it when it comes to candy bar phones. But so far, in my experience and in my full review, I've multitasked many times. The split screen functionality is A, easy to integrate and use, and B, actually works. Again, that top part of your split screen isn't interrupted by a hole punch or island camera. So software is, again, kind of a mixed bag, but not bad. I do like the software mixed with the hardware when it comes to the slider. So for me, I'm going to try and keep it fair. I want to give it a 4, but I'm going to give it a 3. So to recap so far, we've got 4 for build quality, 5 for design, and a 3 for software. The penultimate round, I'm going to switch and make it the price. Because for me, this is the easiest 5-star rating, 5 out of 5 score I can give. We've not talked about the camera yet, but trust me, to get this camera system with the game mode, with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, with a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, and all of that display and speakers, and we'll talk about them soon, to have all that and to use less than £700 of your hard-earned cash is absolute value for money personified. In my opinion, I was going to say this is the best deal of 2024. We're about 15 days in. In my opinion, this might be one of the best deals for a brand new phone with all these specs I've ever seen. Keep in mind, this is not an imported phone, folks. It's a global ROM bought straight from Nubia. This phone is like having a camera in your pocket, a really high-end camera in my opinion, a gaming console, a portable gaming console, and a phone. All those things rolled into one for under £700 just blows my mind, and again, a very, very happy time to be a consumer. So 5 out of 5 for price, no arguments, no debates, it has to be that. And then the final category, the cameras. Now we've already talked about the front-facing selfie. I mean, as you can see, photos aren't fantastic, so I can't give it a 5 out of 5, spoiler alert. But the rest of the cameras, the rear triple setup, that 3x zoom lens, both in photos and videos, is utterly fantastic. Anything up to 15 or 20 times zoom, it's just super sharp and clear. So the processing that ZTE, Nubia are doing, combined with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip, it's just phenomenal to use Android these days. All three lenses, the ultra wide, the wide, and the zoom lens, all keep the same 1 billion beautiful colours. Now, when it comes to video, I've got some examples here that I'm showing, and I'll show more. The 4K 120 frames per second is just so bloody ideal to have. I love this look, and as I've mentioned, slowing it down to 240 frames per second or more, because it's 4K, you lose barely any quality. And at 60 frames per second or 8K at 30 frames per second, the video is just so crisp and clean. So for that reason, with all these examples I'm showing you, I had to give the camera a 4 out of 5. So if my maths is correct, this is a 21 out of 25 phone. 4 points are lost due to the lack of wireless charging and the front-facing camera, in my opinion. Everything else has been nailed by Nubia. It's a Red Magic 9 Pro with the optics of an Oppo Find X6 Pro. As mentioned, it's two flagship phones rolled into one, a flagship gaming phone and a flagship camera phone, all for less than £700. Now that does beg the question, why are we paying £1,250 for an iPhone or an S24 Ultra, when for £550 cheaper, or dollars, you can pick up this? You could pick up the Nubia Z60 Ultra, a nice smartwatch, or a nice tablet, and still have change, compared to buying the S24 Ultra or iPhone 15 Pro Max. Just putting it out there, I'm not saying you should, but if you're in the market for a new phone, please consider the Z60 Ultra. I can recommend this with an average dad seal of approval. Now hopefully you've enjoyed this review. If you have, you know what to do. And if you haven't already, I'm really trying to hit 15,000 subscribers by the end of January. However, we're about 600 off and there's only 10 days left, so I need a bit of support with that. Until next time.